A very good morning to all our viewers. I'm Smriti Rastogi with Breakfast News, and first take a quick look at the top headlines of the day. Good news for 50 lakh union government employees. General Provident Fund norms relaxed. Minimum time for sanction of fund now 15 days. New UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath begins work on BJP's election promises, including farm loan waiver and ban on slaughterhouses. Chief Minister likely to meet Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi today to decide on ministers' portfolios. Second and final day of India-Pakistan talks on Indus Water Commission in Islamabad. Both sides say first day discussion cordial. Kishan Ganga and Ratle projects off the menu. BJP wins floor test in Manipur. Economic blockade lifted in the state. Arrested Union Naga Council leaders to be released unconditionally. And suicide car bombing in Baghdad kills 23. This even as Iraqi troops close in on Mosul's old city. Forces battle IS extremists to recapture country's second largest city. And first, the top story of the day. In a major relief for government employees, Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions has announced several relaxations in General Provident Fund rules. This includes liberalization and simplification, particularly related to the advances and withdrawals by the subscriber or employee. Among the various changes in the existing GPF rules, the requirement of documentary proof for withdrawing GP fund has been done away with, and a simple declaration by a subscriber or employee would now suffice. Meanwhile, the minimum time limit for sanction and payment of GP fund withdrawal would not be more than 15 days, and in case of an emergency, it could only be 7 days. The limit of withdrawal also has been increased. And the newly sworn-in Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, is likely to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi and BJP President Amit Shah in Delhi today to discuss the allocation of portfolios to his ministers. A 47-member Council of Ministers, including 2 Deputy Chief Ministers, was sworn in by Governor Ram Nayak in Lucknow on Sunday. Meanwhile, on Monday, the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister directed all state officials to declare their assets within 15 days, a day after issuing a similar order to his ministers. The move is in line with the implementation of BJP's manifesto for fight against corruption. In another development, 2 slaughterhouses were sealed by the authorities in Allahabad. The National Green Tribunal had reportedly ordered the closure of these 2 slaughterhouses almost a year back. Yogi Adityanath has also directed the state police to maintain law and order and communal harmony in the state. Meanwhile, it is the second and the final day of India-Pakistan discussion on the Indus Water Commission in Islamabad. The 113th meeting of the Permanent Indus Commission between India and Pakistan began on Monday after a gap of nearly 2 years. A 10-member Indian delegation led by Indus Water Commissioner P.K. Saxena held a closed-door meeting with the Pakistani side headed by Mirza Asif Saeed. After the first day of talks, officials on both the sides said the meeting was held in a cordial manner and they had frank discussions. Officials from both the countries discussed problems relating to the Indus Basin, with Pakistan raising serious concerns about 3 Indian hydro projects being built on the river flowing to Pakistan. Because of the Pakistani position, Kishan Ganga and Ratle were not discussed in the latest round of talks. But the designs of the Pakal Dal, Lower Kalnai and Niyar hydroelectric plants were taken up. The relation between the neighbouring countries have been under stress in the recent past. A meeting between the 2 sides planned in September last year was cancelled due to the Uri terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir by the Pakistan-based outfits. And it's yet another win for the BJP. After Goa, the BJP-led government in Manipur has won the floor test in the State Assembly, gobbling up to the support of 33 MLAs in the 60-member House. Let's take a look at this package.
The BJP-led government won the floor test in Manipur Assembly, getting 33 votes in the 60-member Assembly. The lone TMC MLA also supported the Biren Singh government.
I really congratulate my teams, the honorable MLAs, including the opposition's MLAs. And this is a success of the Modi ji. It's not the BJP. Just whatever he has given the inspiration to the peoples of the state, and mainly the national leaders, really who staying here and working day and night.
With 21 MLAs in the 60-member House, the BJP is supported by 4 MLAs of the Naga People's Front, 4 of the National People's Party, 1 MLA of the Lok Janshakti Party, an independent MLA Asabuddin, and a Congress legislator who was inducted in the Council of Ministers. The lone Trinamool Congress MLA T. Robindra Singh also extended support to the BJP-led government, allegedly without consulting his party.
The Government of India is committed to extending full support to all the development projects in the state. So our government will now embark on major mission of developing both the hill areas and the valley. There will be judicious allocation of funds to all the areas.
Earlier, the BJP elected Yumnam Khemchand Singh as the new Speaker of the House by a voice vote. Biren Singh, a former footballer and congressman who joined the BJP in October 2016, took oath as the Chief Minister on March 15th along with 8 ministers of his new cabinet after the BJP won 21 seats in the assembly elections. The Congress emerged as the single largest party but lost out on government formation and alleged that the BJP was stealing power.
ये स्पष्ट हो गया है कि किस तरीके का उन्होंने उसमें मेथड इस्तेमाल किया है, क्योंकि देखिए जिस तरह से मिनिस्ट्री दी गई है, ज्यादातर लोग जो बाद में उनको समर्थन किया है उनको दिया है, तो ये क्लियरली मैं कहूंगी कि हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग हुआ है, चाहे पैसे का हुआ हो या चाहे मैं कहूंगी पावर का हुआ हो।
ये उनकी मजबूरी है कि उनके पास ऐसे लीडरशिप नहीं है कि जो फौरन डिसीजन ले सके और प्रदेश के हित में काम कर सके। यहाँ पर एक ग्रुप था, हमारा ग्रुप फॉर्म हुआ जो कि प्रदेश के हित में काम करना चाहते थे और वो ग्रुप हमारे मेजॉरिटी में थी और हमने अब वहाँ पर प्रूव भी कर दिया जो भी हमें करना था फ्लोर ऑफ टेस्ट में कि हमें मेजॉरिटी है।
With the government proving majority in the House, a 3-day budget session of the Assembly will begin on Tuesday with the address of the Governor. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the opposition Congress on Monday insisted on taking up of its substantive motion on the conduct of the governors of Goa and Manipur in the upper house. While the chair asserted that the established procedure would be followed, the government urged the Congress to respect people's mandate.
Raising the issue during Zero Hour, Congress's Digvijay Singh pressed for the prompt consideration of his substantive motion under Rule 168 on the conduct of governors of Manipur and Goa. Singh alleged that governors' conduct has gone against the established practice and constitutional propriety.
The motion of against the Goa governor, a substantive motion under Rule 168, I would like to know and request that when this motion will be taken up, because I have not been informed as yet and it's not been listed in the business for today. As you had mentioned that day, it will be considered and you will discuss it on Monday.
I'll reply to you.
Leader of opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad and JDU leader Sharad Yadav also supported the early consideration of the motion.
ये विषय यहाँ जीरो आवर में इस पर उठाया था, ये मुद्दा हम लोगों ने और विपक्ष ने मुद्दा उठाया था और आपने फ्राइडे को ये बताया था ऑनरेबल मेंबर दिग्विजय सिंह जी को कि आपका जो मोशन है इस मोशन में गवर्नर का कंडक्ट डिस्कस किया नहीं जा सकता और आपने बताया कि उसके लिए सब्सटेंटिव मोशन देना चाहिए और हमने सभी विपक्ष ने कहा था कि हम मंडे को सब्सटेंटिव मोशन देंगे। अब इन्होंने सब्सटेंटिव मोशन दिया है और आज वो डिस्कस होना चाहिए।
शुक्रवार को ये बात हुई थी कि आज जो है वो रेजोल्यूशन जो उनका है दिग्विजय सिंह का आज आएगा और मैं मानता हूं कि इस वक्त गुजरने से बात तो वक्त पर ही होती है। मेरी आपसे विनती है कि आज के लिए इंप्रेशन था कि इनका रेजोल्यूशन आज मान लिया जाए।
The deputy chairman assured the House that the decision will be taken after examining the rules and procedures. The government also welcomed the chair's observation.
Honorable LOP, you are a seasoned and senior member, lot of experience in the parliament, both in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. You know, if a motion is given to the honorable chairman or to the office secretariat for that matter, there is a procedure to be followed up. And that procedure will be followed up and decision will be communicated to you.
आज चर्चा करने की कोई बात नहीं थी। जो शरद जी कह रहे हैं उस वक्त जो है वो माननीय दिग्विजय सिंह जी ने इस मुद्दे को उठाया था। हम लोगों ने कहा कि आप उस पर नोटिस दीजिए, नोटिस देने के बाद चेयर तय करेगी कि वो किस सब्स्टेंटिव मोशन में चर्चा होगी या किसी और नियमों के तहत होगी, उस पर हम लोग तय करेंगे। तो इसलिए मुझे क्या लगता है कि इस इशू को चेयर पर छोड़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि जनादेश का सम्मान शालीनता से होना चाहिए।
Already said.
In the Goa election, the BJP bagged 13 seats while the Congress emerged as the largest party with 17 seats. In the Manipur elections as well, the Congress emerged as the largest party winning 28 seats while the BJP had 21 seats. The BJP, however, managed to cobble up the majority numbers in both states to win the floor test. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the Congress central leadership will review its performance in the assembly polls and introspect on reasons for the party's defeat in the Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Party leader PL Punia said that party's Uttar Pradesh unit has already embarked on the exercise and discussed reasons for the party's performance with all candidates who had contested. He said a review at the national level will be done on the return of Party Vice President Rahul Gandhi from his visit abroad. Rahul Gandhi has already spoken of structural and organizational changes after the result of assembly polls to 5 states. While Congress badly lost in Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, it emerged as the single largest party in Goa and Manipur but could not form the government in the 2 states. The 2 Sufi clerics who went missing in Pakistan last week returned home to Delhi on Monday. The clerics Syed Asif Ali Nizami and his nephew Nazim Ali Nizami from New Delhi's Hazrat Nizamuddin Shrine thanked the governments of India and Pakistan for their safe return but remained tight-lipped on what led to their disappearance. They also met Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj. They had gone to Pakistan on 8th of March to visit the Data Darbar Sufi Shrine in Lahore. They were reported missing since March 16th after landing at Karachi airport. Nazim Ali, one of the 2 clerics, rubbished the reports by Pakistani media that the clerics worked for India's intelligence agency, Research and Analysis Wing. When asked as to why they were interrogated, Nazim said that they were asked about their visa and other immigration details.
हमारे बारे में कह दिया गया कि अंदरून सिंध ये गए थे, यहाँ मोबाइल वगैरह नहीं चलता था। हम सच्चाई का पैगाम देने वाले हैं, गैर कानूनी काम करने वाले नहीं हैं। तो जब हमारे पास अंदरून सिंध का वीज़ा ही नहीं है तो हम वहाँ क्यों जाते हैं? मैं पूरे हुकूमत हिंदुस्तान का शुक्रगुजार हूँ, खुसूसन मैडम सुषमा स्वराज के तहे दिल से शुक्रगुजार हैं।
On to some more news. President Pranab Mukherjee on Monday presented the Gallantry Awards and the Distinguished Service Decorations to defence personnel at a ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan. 13 personnel received Shaurya Chakra, 14 armed forces officers received the Param Vashisht Seva Medal, 1 officer received the bar to the Ati Vashisht Seva Medal, 3 were awarded Uttam Yuddh Seva Medal and 22 personnel got Ati Vashisht Seva Medal. Major Rohit Suri, who led the army team that carried out the daring cross-border surgical strike last year, was decorated with the 2nd highest peacetime gallantry award, Kirti Chakra. Among various dignitaries present on the occasion were Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan and Defence Minister Arun Jaitley. And with that, we'll slip into a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. The Supreme Court Collegium has cleared the memorandum of procedure for appointment of judges to the higher judiciary. Disclosing this, Chief Justice of India, J.S. Khehar, said that the vacancies of judges in higher courts will be soon filled. The CJI is heading a 3-judge bench that is hearing a PIL on judicial vacancies. Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi said that Collegium had sent the MOP to the centre on March 14th and the centre is studying it. This comes after 15 months of tussle between the NDA government and the Supreme Court's Collegium over some issues in the MOP, including rejection of appointments on ground of national security. In October 2015, a constitution bench headed by Justice J.S. Khehar struck down the NJAC Act passed by the Parliament and directed the centre to frame a new MOP in consultation with the Chief Justice of India. The Uttarakhand High Court accorded the status of living human entities to the rivers Ganga and Yamuna in a landmark judgment on Monday. Exercising extraordinary jurisdiction, the court gave the legal status of human beings to the rivers and ordered that the director of Namami Gange project, the chief secretary and the Advocate General of Uttarakhand will act as legal parents of the holy rivers. Citing the example of river Wanganahui of New Zealand, which has been given similar status, the court said that officers will be bound to uphold the status of the two rivers and protect, conserve and preserve them and their tributaries.
आदेश दिया कि 8 हफ्ते के अंदर ये सारी प्रक्रिया पूरी करते हुए गंगा मैनेजमेंट बोर्ड और स्थापित किया जाए और परिसंपत्तियों का बंटवारा किया जाए। परंतु उससे महत्वपूर्ण यह है कि आज गंगा को जीवित साधारण शक्तियों का प्रयोग करते हुए न्यायालय द्वारा जीवित व्यक्ति का के समान अधिकार दिए गए।
जहाँ तक नदियों को जीवित नदी कहा गया है, तो हमारे तो शास्त्रों में कहा गया, ईशोपनिषद में कहा गया है कि ईशावास्यमिदं सर्वम यद किंच जगत्याम जगत, कि धरती के कण कण में भगवान का वास है। इसलिए हाई कोर्ट ने जो बात कही है कोई नई बात नहीं कही है, ये तो हमारे देश की मान्यता है।
हम तो गंगा को हमेशा से ही माँ कहते हैं, तो माँ लिविंग पर्सन ही होती है। हाई कोर्ट ने उसी की पुष्टि कर दी है।
And on to some more national news and nationwide. The CBI has registered preliminary inquiry in connection with the Narada sting tapes, in which several Trinamool Congress leaders were allegedly caught on camera taking money. The CBI has collected documents related to the sting operation and examined some leaders. The preliminary inquiry has started following the directions of the division bench of the Calcutta High Court. At least 7 persons were killed when a jeep overturned in Gujarat's Valsad region. 4 people injured in the incident were rushed to the nearby hospital for immediate treatment. Real estate baron Gopal Ansal on Monday surrendered before the Tihar jail authorities after the Supreme Court declined any relief to him in the Upahar fire tragedy case. Ansal had earlier appealed to the apex court requesting more time to surrender on the ground that he had moved a mercy plea before the president. However, the bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Khehar rejected the plea and directed him to serve the 1-year jail term. In what is being called an alleged hate crime, a Christian priest from Kerala was stabbed by a 72-year-old man in Melbourne on Sunday. 48-year-old Father Tommy Matthew Kalathur was stabbed in the neck at St. Matthew's Parish. A man armed with a knife stabbed the Catholic priest moments before Father Tommy was scheduled to lead the Italian language mass. The priest escaped with minor upper body injuries and has been released from the hospital. The assailant has been released on the bail and charged with intentionally and recklessly causing injury.
There was a large number of witnesses, but we are appealing for anyone else that may have seen the incident or that may have cited this male offender.
A suicide car bombing in Baghdad killed at least 23 people on Monday and wounded 45 others. The attack targeted a commercial area in Baghdad's southwestern Amal neighborhood. No one claimed responsibility for the attack, but IS has been behind the previous Baghdad bombings. The bombing comes even as Iraqi forces have been battling the extremists in Mosul, the country's second largest city, since October. Iraq declared eastern Mosul fully liberated in January and is now fighting for the more densely populated western half. Iraqi troops are closing in on Mosul's old city, where some of the fiercest fighting is expected to unfold. A series of large-scale bombings claimed by IS have struck Baghdad since the operation to retake Mosul began. FBI Director James Comey has confirmed for the first time that the FBI is investigating alleged Russian interference in the 2016 elections. However, Comey said his agency had seen no evidence to back up President Trump's claim that his phones had been tapped by the Obama administration. He was given evidence to the Congressional Intelligence Committee. Meanwhile, Trump administration said nothing had changed and there was no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Russia, too, has denied attempting to influence the U.S. presidential elections. The FBI investigation would examine possible links between individuals in the Trump campaign and the Russian government and whether there was coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia. Meanwhile, North Korea successfully tested a powerful new rocket engine on Sunday, a move apparently timed to coincide with a trip to Asia by new U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. While U.S. President Donald Trump called it a very bad act, South Korea said that the test showed meaningful progress in the North's missile capabilities. Here are more details.
US President Donald Trump has said that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was acting very badly just hours after Pyongyang conducted a ground test of a new type of high-thrust rocket engine.
At meetings on North Korea, he's acting very badly. I will tell you, he's acting very badly.
North Korea conducted the ground test at the Sohail launch site on Saturday. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un called the test a great event of historic significance for the country's indigenous rocket industry. The Trump administration has recently ramped up its rhetoric on North Korea, which it alleges has been carrying out the tests in violation of the UN Security Council resolution. Meanwhile, North Korea's only ally in the region, China, has said that any chance for dialogue on the situation must be seized.
对话只要还有可能就应当抓住，和平只要还有机会就不应放弃。
South Korea, on the other hand, said that North Korea's latest rocket engine test showed meaningful advancement in engine function. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And some more international news and world wrap. Several passengers were injured when a passenger jet crash-landed in South Sudan's city of Wau on Monday. 44 passengers were on board the plane belonging to South Supreme Airlines. No one died, but a number of people were injured. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has ordered the reopening of the Pakistan-Afghan border with immediate effect as a goodwill gesture. Sharif hoped the Afghan government would take measures to eliminate terrorists present on their soil. Pakistan had closed the border last month following the Sevan blast. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang held talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Beijing on Monday, vowing to advance innovation cooperation. After the talks, the two countries signed a number of agreements for cooperation in economy, science and technology, commerce and civil aviation. A 124-run fifth-wicket partnership between Shaun Marsh and Peter Hanscom ensured that the third test between India and Australia ended in a draw. Australia were 204 for 6 when the match was called off with Hanscom on 72 not out. The hosts failed to profit from the advantage that they had built up in the initial stages of the Australian second innings, as the bowlers could not run through the Aussie middle order. Spinner Ravindra Jadeja had given India some hope by picking up 4 wickets by lunch on final day, but Marsh and Hanscom held on to give the visitors a hard-earned draw. The 4-match series is now tied at 1-1 with 4th and final test to be played in Dharamshala from March 25th. And before we wrap up this bulletin, the nation is today celebrating the 104th birth anniversary of Shehnai maestro Ustad Bismillah Khan, one of the finest Indian classical musicians. He played the Shehnai for more than 8 decades and received various national and international acclaim for his performances. He has been awarded with Bharat Ratna, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri awards. The legend was born this day in 1913 and left for heavenly abode on 21st August 2006. We leave you with these visuals.